Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
We are at war. Hoorah! War is what guardsmen pray for.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk from Jack of Clubs Painting. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
So it is September, falling back into the hobby, and Space Marines are on the horizon. It's been an exciting time. You guys gearing up for a tournament this weekend?
I am.
Yeah.
Team?
Kumite in Texas, up in Arlington.
So you're going to Kumite? That's the gaming, the fighting game convention.
Yeah, so it's a fighting game tournament, and they're for the first time adding a tabletop aspect with a 3-man ATC tile team event for 40K and
called the Texas Trios.
Yeah, Texas Trios.
I like it.
It's got its own unique scoring system. It's sort of based on ATC or ITC. It's got a totally different matchmaking procedure. It should be really interesting.
Yeah. But if you think of ATC, you're in the ballpark, but it has its own missions and its own scoring system. But we say ATC style so that people know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yep. And I have an actual ATC style tournament this weekend. Dice Hammer Southern California Team Championships. There's 8 teams, 8 5-man teams. Some of the biggest dick stompers in the region are all dispersed amongst teams. There's a few I'd say there's 2 real strong teams. SoCal Kings, that's Ray's team. Like Ray, Richard Cozart, John Starks. Like it's a powerhouse.
Pretty
stacked. So there's some stacked teams. Look, a lot of people have like 3 really good players on their teams, and you got to go in there and play 5 games, which means you're playing almost every team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be super intense. We're playing it this weekend. We've been doing a lot of matchmaking strategy. I was an add-on. Like I wasn't initially a guy on our team, but I was brought in about a month ago. So I've been part of the strategy. We lost a guy. Then Robert came back to the team, and then Robert tore a bicep doing tire flips. And he had to leave. So our alternate, which was Alan, who was also our coach, now has to step up to play.
Yikes.
So we have to take a point hit because we had to use our alternate because all the lists are already submitted and everything, and people doing strategy. So every game he plays, he gives up 1 automatic secondary point of his opponent's choice.
What? Really? Mm-hmm. Oof.
It's only 1 point, but it's good because it's literally like, somebody picks their secondaries against them and they're like, what's the hardest one to actually get? I'll just take the first point on that right now.
Yeah, take it.
So that basically means he can't tie you if you get the same points. Like you will win. So we had to take that, unfortunately, but now Alan has to play Custodes because we already had an Ultramarine player. So
how butthurt is he about that?
He's not butthurt at all. Like
not blue.
We actually thought there was a moment when we thought he was actually just going to be on the team. So we were preparing him to play Custodes. So he's ready to go. Custodes is still really good. Caladius Spam's still real good.
Oh yeah. I mean, they just have a dedicated purpose now. They're just good against everything.
They work really good in a team format. So we got that this weekend. It should be blast. I'll text pictures, guys. I'll keep you guys updated. It's going to be a pretty competitive weekend. New Space Marines are being represented all over the place. Mm-hmm. There's an Iron Hands guy. There's several Ultramarines players.
Well, I don't think he'll get the book, but he'll be able to at least use their chapter tactic and normal doctrines.
Like, I don't see why you couldn't use the brand. Like, he doesn't get to change his list or anything, but like, I don't see why he wouldn't have to do doctrine.
Yeah. The doctrine's in the regular Marine Codex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually super solid. I mean, you can play that big guns never tire strat on whatever, and then it just like walks around and ignores the negative 1 to hit if it's heavy already. So
So it's going to be a competitive weekend for Long War TV, and we'll have pictures and social media updates for you guys.
I think I'll be playtesting my Tree Peoples a little bit more. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm on the fence right now whether I need to run Spirit of Durthu or Drycha. So it's a lot of decision making there because the Tree People they got those exploding sixes now, and if you take a Winterleaf Glade, so I'm just like, man, I need a heavy.
It's so nerdy sounding, but I love it.
Well, it's you have no idea what I'm talking about. So
Winterleaf, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, exploding sixes, dog. Oh, also piling an attack second time.
See, I like the sound of all that. I just loved it when you said like Winterleaf.
Winterleaf. No, it's Drycha is actually pretty good because she gets a lot of attacks, and you can just change her form on the fly. So you can be like,
what do her bees do?
I think it's 20 shots now, or 20 attacks in combat, and then when you got exploding sixes, and sixes are mortal wounds too, like it can get kind of silly.
Damn, those bees are not playing around.
They are killer bees.
Oh,
in fact, yes, indeed.
Killer bees on the track.
Swarm. Yeah.
Killer bees about to swarm.
But Durthu's pretty stout too, because he's got I think his sword is 6 damage. His Wu-Tang sword is straight 6 damage. Like, and he gets 6 attacks. Like, whoa. 6 damage.
That's a Rabute Gilliman level dude right there.
It doesn't even matter at that point between 5 or 6.
He's a knight. Like, that is a knight, like with a fucking chain glaive.
It's pretty dirty. But yeah, Tree People are fun, and now you can put Go-Trek in there too, which is if you really feel like you need them, I suppose.
Go-Trek Face Killer?
Yep, Go-Trek Face Killer. Yeah.
Well, can I have that one, Wyatt?
Yeah, you can have that one.
Thank you.
He has a last name, so he's not just Go-Trek.
Was it Gurnison? Gurnison?
Yeah, Gurnison.
Might as well be Smith. Like, who cares?
Bruh. How dare you impugn the ancient line of Gurnison?
You can't trust a dwarf.
Whoa, that's exceptionally speciest.
And
I don't want to just put him in an elf army just because. But I'm secretly wondering what this new Cities of Sigmar book's going to be. An alliance of men, dwarves, and elves? Where would they ever get an idea of that?
I don't know. I mean, Warhammer Fantasy was just a Tolkien ripoff anyways, so.
What? You take that back. That's all original content, bro.
Was it?
Well, what are you defending?
I'm not. I'm just being devil's advocate.
Let's sling it over to Wyatt. Let's do a joke.
Oh, word. This week's Would You Rather. All right. So Rob posted an interesting article in our private chat the other day, and it kind of inspired me for this one. You probably forgot entirely.
100%.
All right. So here it is. Would you rather all food that you eat be alive and sentient when you eat it, or only eat dead humans?
Wait, I posted this?
Well, not this specifically. You posted an article related to cannibalism, and it inspired this Would You Rather.
Wasn't the article about how cannibalism is geoconscious, basically?
Yeah, like they wanted to, like, people on a certain political spectrum wanted to remove the taboo of eating people because it was geoconscious.
No. I'm only allowed to eat dead human flesh.
Yep.
Like I can have like a steak, right? Like we're not talking about like rotten, horrible corpse flesh.
No, not rotten. You just like you have to source.
How do I get? Do I have magically, because of this the magical nature of the Would You Rather? Do I have like a magical butcher's box that I can customize?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a person. Like you get a dead body in your butcher's box. I'm not going to make it easy on you.
I have to slaughter the person myself.
No, like they're dead, but you have to butcher it.
Like I was saying, I have to butcher. That's what I mean. Like I have to drain the blood, butcher this dude, everything.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'm definitely eating sentient food.
Yeah, seriously.
You're gonna go with sentient food. That's
like an apple sentient, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's alive and sentient.
Fuck you, Apple.
Oh wow. Okay.
like, look, here's the thing.
Baby carrots. Those are screaming babies. That you're
like you could have said like you could have made this with anything. Like, but all food you eat, you have to slaughter yourself. I would have been still no. Like you're like, I'm a fully actualized like basic. Like I understand my role in society and how I eat meat. It's one of where I don't see what happens. I don't know where it comes from. It's the only way I can stomach eating it.
It's basically magic.
Yeah. If like the only way I got to eat a steak was a cow got dropped off in my backyard and I had to like cut its intestines out and slaughter it and hang it and bleed it. And eat, I would just no. I'd be a vegetarian. If that was my commitment.
Yeah, I'm totally the same way.
Like 50% it's too gross and 50% is too hard.
Okay. I mean, like I thought it would be
if it was like freeze dried, prepackaged human steaks, I'm back on.
Okay. Well, I mean, like that's the stipulations put in place. Like you have to do that, or all food is sentient and alive when you eat it.
Oh, LT's got to go. I'll eat sentient apples. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. LT says, do you want to eat prepared human flesh or get a whole deer every day delivered to you that you have to prepare yourself? Dead human flesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if those are my two choices, like high quality.
I'm so glad your morals are all like laziness based.
Yeah. There's like literally like that article Rob posted was actually insightful. Like I'm like, they're literally, it's like who gives a shit? Like, it depends on how the human meat is sourced, though. I'm not gonna lie. Is that if
it's not the amount of work involved? So
now, I mean, this is a conundrum, right? Because
it has to be done. The more flexible your morals are, I got it.
So, like, if you said fine, you get the pre-sourced, pre-packaged butcher's block of human steaks. I'm like, okay, but how are they sourced? And you're like, randomly pulled from the street and murdered. I'm like,
so responsibly sourced. Got it.
They were hunted in the wild.
Yeah. They were grass fed and hunted in the wild. Oh, okay, cool.
Like death row inmates.
Like, are you like a crew? Do you like take on the aspects and the memories of the things you eat?
No.
Oh my God. This is a great one. Like, can you cook the sentient food or you just have to know it?
Yeah, you can. It's just like it's going to be begging you for its life before you cook it. And you can hear its screams as it cooks alive.
Like telepathically?
No. Like, no, like, yeah, like it's like a living sentient being.
I feel really bad for those 2,000 pieces of rice I'm about to eat.
Yeah, you just committed like
it's genocide. Like a stadium of people screaming in agony in my mind.
Yeah.
Rice is good.
This is I eat sentient food.
I murder the shit out of rice.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my motivations are based on laziness. Monet says that's always been my problem. KR Quinn's like, eat both. How about screaming human flesh?
Gluten-free, sentient food.
See, like some people are the despots that I believe people would be talking about power trips and ego boosts.
Get some like gluten-free Girl Scout cookies. Delicious.
It would be awful. All right, well,
probably.
I'm sorry to ruin your Would You Rather this week.
I don't think you've ruined it.
Here, I'll talk about some nerd shit.
Some nerd shit.
Some new product shit. White Dwarf comes out. Well, it goes on pre-order this week. It's gonna come out next week. So it's gonna have the that special Hunt the Fallen Dark Angel mission with like some stratagems and stuff. But it apparently it's not going to have actual Dark Angel rules for match play and such.
No.
Which was, kind of the rumor, but not so much. Shrike and Guy Iron Hands Guy Fieros are $40.
Wilford Brimley. It's Forge Father Wilford Brimley, and I'm super excited.
Diabetes.
Yeah. Well, you can't get diabetes if your legs are robotic.
It's true. Think about that. So those are coming out. Yes.
Like that's.
Well, I mean, I think technically you could still have the diabetes, but you don't have to worry about losing your feet.
So you don't get diabetes foot. Like
yeah. You just got robotic feet, so you don't have to worry about losing your feet.
I mean,
it's compelling. That's compelling.
You could just have a dialysis machine.
Like the flesh is weak, so
just on you at all times. Anyways, Primaris Lieutenant and Hobos armor, $35. The Primaris upgrades for the Raven Guard and the Iron Hands. I think you get 2 sprues in there and a transfer sheet for $25, which doesn't seem too bad of a deal when I think they were like $12 each normally for the sprues.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
The Space Marine Primaris Eliminators, the 3-man sniper squad, is going to be $50 US, which we kind of suspected it would be that because the Inceptors are a 3-model kit for $50. But there it is. Codex Raven Guard and Codex Iron Hands, as suspected, are also $30 each for the supplement. They also have data cards for $15, but it doesn't look like they're going to get dice. So no dice for them. I don't know why.
Cool.
Or maybe they're coming out later. Maybe they're coming out next week. Maybe they're delayed. Who knows? But that's your starting GW lineup. I think. Oh no, the Ares is already on sale at Forge World for $445 for a 415-point model. Womp womp. I don't think there was any 40K releases last week. Then we also got a little bit of news on the not GW side of things. So Pop Goes the Monkey at popgoesthemonkey.com. And I think I've been spamming the link in chat. Just opened up his new Bits web superstore. So it's a lot easier to navigate around and find all the categories. You'll probably be like, I can't believe all these new products in here. Chances are, well, they were there the whole time. It was just really hard to find on the Shapeways store. But tons of stuff to look at over there. Lots of new shinies. Well, may not be new, but new discoveries to check out as well. And our friends at Dice Head Games wanted us to remind you about their trade-in program, so you can trade in your old, gently used models for new shiny ones, which in this day and age, well, chances are we'll be needing a lot more here soon if you're a Space Marine player. So check them out over at diceheadgames.com as well.
I love trade-in programs.
I think it's great. I mean, I might be biased, but because kind of.
It's awesome. I mean, like you trade it in, you get your store credit. You know, you buy new shit, man. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody's got something they're like, you know what? Or even if you just go to like the little,
it's like it's a 40K pawn shop. You know, like
yeah, dude, I used to sell more product, like used product, in the store than I did.
Is it going to be like Pawn Stars, where like I bring in my Slayer sword winning Mortarion? That's literally what it is. It's like, I'll give you $5.
I've watched someone bring in some like ridiculous, huge, fully painted army, and like Rob, they got to bring Rob up because it's like going to be big, right? So you go back, you call back Rob instead of your guys who work in the front. Go to the back. They got it laid out. Rob walks in. He's like, "I'll give you 500 cast, 1,000 store credit." Just looks him right in the face. Dude's like, "But," he's like, "Fine, I'll take $500 cash."
Like,
well, I mean, there's expenses and margins and stuff.
Of course, that's the pawn shop. I mean, you got to also resell this shit, and it's unlikely you're going to sell it as one lot. So
sometimes sit on it, break it up, get stuck with the undesirables. But yeah, I think in the commission painting gig, the stuff's only worth what it is to the person that specifically wants it a certain way, you know? So like, that's kind of the rub. It was always like the sweet spot was if it was expertly assembled and well primed, like then it could be for anybody's army. But then once you started like bad primer jobs, like paint on it, then it's
Kenny, did you ever take commissions where people would send you models that were put together and primered?
Oof.
Only from like my friends.
Yeah, like when I used to do it, I would take it like the the army however you wanted me to do it. Like if I had a choice, I would always be like, give me the money to buy the stuff off the shelf. But sometimes they would send me models that were like put together and primered, and like, man, sometimes there were some real shit sandwiches in there that were just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I only did that with like, I did that for Rob. Rob had his whole army all high level converted and stuff. And I did it for a couple other people, but only people I know that I could trust to not provide me with just garbage.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I do want to talk about GoTrek that's coming out this week at your friendly local game store, of course, for Age of Sigmar. If you haven't heard, he's basically a beast. Any order army can take him for 520 points, regardless of actual available ally points, which is pretty ridiculous. So he's just a beast. He only moves 4 inches, but there's some play. There's some ways to get around that, depending on what army you actually put him in. But 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -2 rend with 3 damage. He basically, if he gets hit with damage from an attack, a spell, or ability, or anything that does damage greater than 1, change it to 1. If he's outright slain, he only suffers 1 mortal wound instead. But it can never be set up in reserve, and it can't be like taken off and then put back down on the battlefield with a spell or ability or something like that, because he's slow. You can also reroll. What's that?
He's a little guy.
He's a little guy. He's got that low center of gravity. You can reroll the hit and the wound rolls for attacks made by this model. And if an unmodified hit roll for this attack is a 6, it does D6 mortal wounds in addition to any normal damage, which basically means you can just fish for 6s because it doesn't say misses. You can just reroll. It's kind of crazy. He can also pile in and fight again at the end of the combat phase or the fight phase. And last but certainly not least, roll a dice each time he takes a wound or mortal wound on a 3-up. It is negated. So he's a little tanky, but he's
a pretty legendary fighter. Sounds like
the slayer of everything.
He's one of the few people that survived the end times.
I mean, he's like
yeah.
I mean, like almost like it's from a race of fighters.
Oh my God.
Stop it.
Let it die.
It's not Dragon Ball Z.
Did his people all die and he's like one of the last ones alive?
Sorta.
I mean, technically.
Was he kind of royalty, or at least some level of like high, like was his dad royalty maybe, or his mom?
No.
Son of a god?
No. He's just a guy.
Just a guy.
Just a dude.
Just a warrior.
Special axe and little amulet.
So he's Goku. Got it.
God damn it.
How do we get there? It's just like jumping to conclusions, Matt.
Well, he thought I was going with Vegeta, and then I was like, yep, Goku. Is any stories where he was like raised by somebody?
Nope.
No. Yeah.
He just kills everyone always. The end period. It's basically GoTrek versus the world.
Which I love.
I'm pretty sure.
I
But
mean,
$35. Pick him up this weekend.
Either way, like the kid looks dope. I mean, it's
plastic. I was worried it might be that crappy fine cast because like Eisenhorn and that Commissar lady were both. Oh, and Sly Marbo were all like fine cast, crappy cast, and then GoTrek's plastic. So I'm like, hell,
you keep putting like another negative on fine. Like fine is negative. Like you've never used fine to describe something in a positive way.
I mean, really hot lady is like fine.
Okay, show me a model. And if you're like, hey Kenny, how does this look? And I said it's fine.
I mean, in that context, yeah.
This is models. That's the content, right? And then if you said, well, what do you mean fine? I was like, it's fine, man. It's fine. Like it doesn't mean it's good. Nope. GW named it Finecast. It means it's not good.
All right.
I'd be very surprised if we're going to see any more in the
hopefully not. Jesus.
Finecast.
Like it's fine.
It's kind of it's kind of run its course. I feel
it's
like
better than I could do on my Beats Lab. I guess it's fine. Okay. So GoTrek sounds like a badass GoTrek face killer.
Yep,
GoTrek face killer. Must have, maybe, for most order
He sounds
armies.
pretty strong. I mean, I don't know anything about AOS, but I feel like I'd have that guy in my army.
You do not want to get hit by that guy.
No.
You want to shoot him or something before he gets to you.
He's a touch of death character.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to you, Kenny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Touch of death goes infinite. All right. Iron Hands breakdown. Let's go into it.
Word. Do we want to do Korax or do we want to do Raven Guard first or Iron Hands first? Because I feel like if the Raven Guard have to follow the Iron Hands, it's going to be kind of
Okay. Do
sad.
Raven Guard first.
Just
Yeah, we'll do
Raven Guard.
it. Okay. All right. So Raven Guard, their addendum to one of the doctrines is surgical strikes. And it reads, whilst the tactical doctrine is active when resolving an attack made by a model with this ability against a character, you can add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls.
Popping them heads.
Who gets to use this? What is this?
This is all Raven Guard. Anything that has doctrines. So
That's-
basically all Space Marines except servitors.
But that's
And
their
use-
chapter tactic?
No,
Well, it's their addendum
add-on.
to the doctrine.
That's their add-on chapter
Yeah.
tactic.
And that's in the assault phase?
Tactical
Tactical.
doctrine.
So after turn
So
2,
tactical doctrine, they add 1 to hit and 1 to wound to every... To what?
Against
Character.
characters. Against
Character.
characters.
Okay. It's okay.
When resolving an attack, so
It's fine.
shooting and melee, add 1 to
fine.
hit and wound rolls.
It's fine.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
All right. And they have a warlord trait called Shadow Master. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at this warlord,
That's good.
which they've had before.
That's a good
They-
smash.
they-
That's a good smash, Captain.
Oh yeah, super solid.
It's a solid.
Then we have Raven's Fury. Jump pack model only. A model from your army with this relic can be chosen to charge with even if they advance this turn. When a charge roll is made for that model, you can re-roll the dice. In addition, after that model finishes a charge move, you can select 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of that model and roll a d6. On a 4+, that enemy suffers 1 mortal wound.
Yep.
So there's
Impact.
something about this that's not great. Maybe Kenny noticed it.
I'm still thinking about. I'm behind on the curve because I actually haven't read any of these for myself. So
Okay, so what do we want from if something is going to reroll charges? What do we want?
I want to be able to roll any combination of the dice.
Yeah, this
Right.
one is not that.
It's still
But
good.
GW says
So
that
I mean, even their augmented doctrine is good. Like I'm just like +1 to hit, and +1 to wound. So +1 to wound is the best. What are the best things in the game? +1 to hit's also real good. The thing that bothers me is that it's all against characters. So I've just been started compiling a list of useful scenarios. In my head, I'm like Mortarion, Magnus, knights that are like at least 1 knight in your opponent's army, maybe more.
Yeah, that's what most people are jumping to immediately.
Yeah,
is,
demon princes, other, it's good. So like I could see certain types of units being just real good now, like just auto includes in your list. But the thing is, it's in the assault or the tactical phase.
Yeah,
So
tactical doctrine.
You want to build it around those types of weapons. So that's really good. There's play there. I love that. I love the no Overwatch. Is that a warlord trait or a relic?
So the no Overwatch is a warlord trait, and the Raven's Fury is a relic. It's
So-
a jump pack relic.
So the jump pack. So it's you buy a jump pack, it becomes your free relic,
Yeah.
or do you? And it lets you advance and charge and reroll.
Yeah, advance and charge and reroll both dice. Not any combination of.
Damn.
It's
So that's
roll
that's a twofer. I mean, this guy takes the Overwatch, advances charge, rerolls the charge. That's a really
and on a 4-up deals 1 mortal wound at the finish of the charge.
yeah. That's a solid smash captain.
Yeah. Pretty solid.
Yeah. It's not fine.
I'd say the only
pretty
thing
good.
I would want on top of this is sort of like what we've been moving to, where it says reroll 1 or both charge dice.
Yeah, but they already gave you something. They gave you advance and charge. So
it's pretty cool. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And this is a super solid relic for a beat stick character.
That's pretty good. So like, yeah, you have a standard, Thunderhammer, Storm Shield guy with these two things on it. He's great.
Yeah. So one thing too,
that's great for the Slapland too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
surgical strikes pairs with something. So I'll answer a question from the chat and talk about this at the same time. There is a stratagem for intercessors with stalker bolt rifles that allows them to be snipers for a turn. So their stalker bolt rifles get the sniper keyword and the ability to deal mortal wounds on 6s, just like sniper rifles.
It's a stratagem?
So, yeah.
One unit?
Yeah, 1 unit. So that's kind of cool because you're in the tactical doctrine where
you need to be 4 characters sniping +1 to hit, +1 to wound, so they can mortal wound on 5s.
Yes.
Without
you're not going to have the AP bonus because stalker bolt rifles are heavy, but it lets you target characters and combo with your surgical strikes.
Can you pray to them to make it? So, do snipers, is it unmodified 6s or just 6s?
I don't. My book's in my car. I can't.
Rob, is there any way you can look that for me? Sniper
special rule.
Yeah. Do snipers cause mortal wounds on unmodified 6s or just 6s? Because then you can double stack that. I don't
think it's unmodified.
6+. The chat says 6+. So that's really interesting because you can make that. You can make the mortal wounds happen on a 4, with combinations, right?
In theory,
But could you pray to them?
Yeah, it's a unit of intercessors. You can have up to 10.
Yeah,
with stalker bolt rifles, which is fairly expensive. But can be done. A lot of people are hot on stalker bolt rifles right now because they are a 2 damage weapon.
So it's 2 damage, 1 shot?
Yeah, 1 shot. Heavy 1.
Heavy 1, 2 shot.
No, 1 heavy 1, strength 4, -1 for 2.
Oh, for 2 damage.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So +1 to hit, +1 to wound a character. You go sniper so you can hit the character. You pray to them for +1 to wound, triggering the mortal wound effect on 4s, but you're wounding them on 2s for 2 damage. That's pretty good. You'll kill pretty much any character.
Yeah.
If you pull that combo off, any 5, 6 wound character's dead.
The stalker counts as bolt rifle, right? Or no? No, bolt rifle is just their stock weapon, right?
Yeah. So there's bolt rifles, auto bolt rifles, and stalker bolt rifles, and there's a stratagem for each one. So one of them turns bolt rifles into rapid fire 2. One of them is for stalkers that lets you be snipers, and the other one is bolt storm for auto bolt rifles that if you're shooting at a target within half, they auto hit.
Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool combo. I like that. Like somebody else's smash captain can get fucked up.
Yeah. But beyond that, we have stuff like scout snipers. We have stuff like eliminators, which is pretty cool.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. A lot of play here. So they have some that's really good sniper stuff.
Yeah. Then they show off a psychic power called Shadow Step. Yeah. Shadow Step has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select 1 Raven Guard character unit from your army within 18 inches of this psyker. Remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models.
Who does it target again?
Raven Guard characters.
So you can move a character 9 inches away. Try to get
you basically deep strike him.
Yeah, but so this is on the board, so you can do this turn 1, right?
I would think so in theory. Yes. You can use that other thing where
it's like get the jump or Gate of Infinity, or what's the Blood Angels thing they can do with Smash Captains? I forget that one.
Descent of Fire.
Yes, or on Wings of Fire or something like that, where they can just pick them up and put them somewhere else.
One is the 3d6. One is the pick them up, put them down.
Upon Wings of Fire, yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of the meme that's going around right now is that you can do this on a Chaplain Dreadnought.
This whole Chaplain Dreadnought thing is just ridiculous. Like, they're not going to let that stuff happen.
Yeah. We'll get to that soon. But
and
that's
then
cool.
they show a stratagem called False Flight. It lets them for 2 CP. When a Raven Guard unit from your army falls back, that unit can shoot and charge in this turn.
And then shoot.
Yeah,
2
shoot
CP?
and charge. Yeah. So for 2 CP, you can become an Ultramarine and then also charge.
Become an Ultramarine and a White Scar.
Yeah.
They can do everything.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, the sniper stuff has some high level ramifications, and it's. I mean, like for example, like Lord D's are characters. That's another big one.
Yeah.
Anytime you play Chaos, you get to interact with 2-3 Lord D's, maybe a Mortaria, maybe a character knight, and I'm like a healthy amount of snipers doing mortal wounds on 5s and hitting on 2s is pretty interesting, right? Like so. Just thinking about like what I play, what I see people around my area playing, this is obviously a good set of rules. There's nothing bad here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty impressed with them.
Yeah. It's just that the way that they chose to do this, they show the Iron Hands first and kind of set the internet on fire with how spicy Iron Hands are. And then the next day showed off Raven Guard. And by comparison, everybody was kind of like, oh, Raven Guard feel a little lackluster compared to the Iron Hands. But we don't know all the information yet. So there could be some sick combos and some cool new rules and all that stuff hiding.
It does show the theme. It shows the theme though. Like, so we understand the theme. Got it. The theme of the Iron Hands is a little bit more easy and up front. And let's break down the Iron Hands.
Okay. So Iron Hands, their addendum is to the Devastator Doctrine. It's called Calculated Fury. Whilst the Devastator Doctrine is active, models with this ability do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. In addition, whilst this Devastator Doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a heavy weapon by a model with this ability, reroll a hit roll of 1.
Yep.
I mean, that's why it's a little on the nose. It's unsupported. Like, right. Like we were talking about a webcast. It's pretty plug and play. Like I can move. I don't ever have to sacrifice moving and hit penalties. And I never have to worry about a character being near my guys to reroll the ones. That's plug and play AF.
Yep. Pretty solid. It opens up a ton of options with them. It kind of allows a lot of units that don't need something like a captain or a chapter master to be there. So it lets you use or fill your detachments with a lot of cheap characters that do other cool things so that you don't have to have that like point sink of a chapter master or something. But we don't know what the Iron Father is going to be doing. He might be, like super pimptastic.
I mean, he's going to have to do a lot to be better than the point efficiency of the Slaplin.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like in this list, I mean, the Slaplin plus support characters is real strong.
My bet is that he's going to, since he's going to be like a chapter master and also have the ability to repair vehicles on top of that. So he's like a chapter master tech marine. I don't have any evidence to support that. That's just my prediction. So if that ends up happening, that would be cool. Then they show off a warlord trait. It's called Student of History. When this warlord consolidates, they can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 and do not have to end this move closer to the nearest enemy model.
That's a really flexible ability. Like on the surface, it's like, okay, but there's a lot going on there, guys. Like, so normally when you consolidate, like, so let's say you jump out, you smash some dude's shit, and you're like, I'd really like to go back into the building and hide here for a turn, like I used to be able to, but currently, you enter the charge phase, the fight phase, you pile in, then you consolidate. You have to end your movement a little closer to the closest model. So you don't get to go backwards into the building that which you came or go left to that objective. This guy says you can, which to me was already really strong that you can go any direction. And then they made it 6 inches.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to use this warlord trait just yet, but it is very good.
The first thing I thought of was just being able to move away so you can take advantage of character non-interaction. Like you can move 6 inches away and then you're not the closest enemy model anymore. Or you can move into a building and block line of sight from shooting, where you didn't have that flexibility before.
Like there's a world where I have a Slapland with the standard configurations and a Slam Captain with this Warlord trait.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
And they showed off a psychic power called Blessing of the Machine God.
This one is preposterous. Be prepared.
Yeah. Blessing of the Machine God.
Power level 8, right? Warp charge 8?
Warp charge 5.
Warp charge 5. I know, I'm teasing. It's a warp charge 5. It's almost as low
warp
as
charge value of 5. If manifested, select one friendly Iron Hands vehicle model within 12 inches of the Psyker. And then it says in parentheses, you can only select a Titanic model if the result of the psychic test is 8 or more. Until the start of your next psychic phase, when resolving an attack made by that model, add 1 to hit. So this pairs.
I want you to understand the ramifications here. It says attack. It doesn't say shooting. It doesn't say shooting phase. It says attack. Bro, that is a real good ability that pops off in a lot of different ways. But secondly, +1 to hit. Are you fucking kidding me? This is what we were talking about before. There are now multiple ways in Space Marine armies to get pluses to wounds and pluses to hit.
Yep.
That's a Warp Charge 5 spell. Never leave home without it. American Express card ability of Iron Hands.
Yep. This is kind of what I was saying. So like a lot of Iron Hands are going to be like lieutenants, tech marines, and chaplains and librarians. Yeah, because being able to have +1 and then plus another 1 on the same unit is really strong. And being able to throw out +1 on 2 different units is really strong. So that librarian chaplain combo is going to be legit.
I think, and remember too, every chapter is going to get a psychic discipline, and there's 2 in the main book. So like, this is a thing they're leading up to the psychic awakening. Like psychers are the thing. Get used to them. You know, I know a lot of Iron Hands players and they're like, I don't even know what a psyker is. You better get ready because you're going to want one.
They use librarians.
Yeah.
Then they show off a relic called the Iron Stone. And this is one that everybody's been talking about.
Another preposterous.
Yes.
This is worded so openly. It's
I don't use this word lightly, but the existence of this relic is ludocracy.
Ooh,
ludocracy.
We are existing in a 40k ludocracy now.
Oh man,
I like it.
All right. When resolving an attack made against an Iron Hands vehicle unit within 3 inches of a friendly model with this relic, reduce any damage inflicted by 1 to a minimum of 1.
Goddamn Serpent Shield bubble.
Yes.
For Iron Hands.
They kind of limit it with a 3-inch aura instead of the normal kind of 6-inch aura.
That's why until further notice, you put that shit on a bike. Turn that bitch sideways.
And I think there is a stratagem to increase the aura of a character by 3 inches. I'm pretty sure it's a stratagem and not a warlord trait in the Space Marines Codex.
It's really good for for turn 1, like turn 1 defense, like castle -1. This works obviously really good. We talked about the Leviathan. We brought it up again. We're going to go into the Leviathan here in just a second, but like, does this sound, if you have a ballistic skill 2 guy who for Warp Charge 5 can be +1 to hit, you can make the dude have all incoming damage +1. Like, so you can have all the damage -1. And perhaps be +1 to wound, and maybe in a perfect world, an additional +1 to hit. And he innately rerolls 1, so it's 2 up rerollable wounds on 2s, rerollable because there's a lieutenant there. The Leviathan Dreadnought can literally kill 2 Eldar flyers with fucking -2 to hit per turn.
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, even lightning fast reflexes, my man still hits on a 3.
Yep. is good.
Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And they show off a stratagem, but it's about the tactical objective card deck, which nobody plays.
So, but we do have a 20-minute interview with Richard Siegler, Professor Siegler. We're going to slide in at the end of this discussion. So stay tuned for that, guys. We were able to get a hold of Richard on Monday for an interview. He is the winner of Nova Open. He plays Tau. The reason I was able to pull down this interview, he even straight told me, Rob, he's like, I mean, I did a lot of interviews. Do you have something new to talk about? Because I'm just talking about how my army does. I was like, yeah, I got something for you. I was like, you didn't play any Space Marines to win Nova. Are you concerned? So he's going to answer that question.
Well, yeah, dog.
He's going to talk about his plan to win the ITC champions this year and how he set a goal for himself and he surpassed it. So we're going to discuss that, but we discussed that with day one. Iron Hands just dropped on Monday. I even say in the interview, I'm sure we just talked about Iron Hands before this. So let's talk a little bit more about Iron Hands. Are they OP? They seem obviously OP in some ways. So we want to have the nature of OP discussion right now. And let's talk about Space Marines just real quick. Let's just get it out there. Space Marines stat lines across the board either went up, they did not go down in any way. Points either went down, they did not go up in any way, and they got abilities for free. So entirely buffed for free. And when we talk about rules, especially in a tabletop game like this, we talk about cheat codes. Everyone has kind of a framework of stats that we kind of wrap our head around, especially in the context of a D6, right? And a 12-inch movement and a foot, American standard, right? So we understand how all these statistics work. The cheat codes are the things you sprinkle in, the spice you sprinkle in for free that you don't have to pay for. It's built into the cost, is it not? Whatever. Space Marines just got all the cheat codes. They got a game genie and somebody just like totally hacked every fucking unit in their arsenal. Are they OP? I think they are going to be OP, yes. I don't have all the facts, all the information, of course, but let's not get it fucking twisted. We've been doing this a long time. We've been playing this game for a long time. This looks to be the beginning of the OP iceberg that we just saw a little bit above the surface.
I'm going to go the other way. I think that a lot of our Space Marines OP / this is fucking OP is a knee-jerk reaction. That's what I feel. Like, I feel, so this is my opinion, like, for a long time, unless you played Ultramarines with Rabute Gilliman in your list, you were like a solid middle-of-the-pack tier 3 faction. And I think with this new decks, without any of the supplements, that brings them up to tier 2. And now armies that have their supplement are getting buffed up to kind of in like top of tier 2 into tier 1. Regardless of what you're playing. So like salamanders are now viable. Iron Hands are going to be solid plug and play tier 1 armies. That's going to guarantee, like, if you run like some dreadnoughts and a couple of repulsor executioners, that's going to guarantee you a like 3-3 or like a 3-2 at a GT if you know what you're doing, right? And that's pretty solid to play the midfield like that. Get some solid wins under your belt. Go win positive. Makes people feel good. I don't know enough about the Raven Guard yet to say whether or not they're going to be good, but just the buffs of the Space Marine Codex is going to get them into tier 2 for sure. But are Space Marine mono build lists going to topple the meta of Imperium combined arms and Chaos combined arms and Eldar? I don't know yet. And I don't think they're going to completely decimate those armies, or if I'm not using decimate the right way, but completely like topple those armies. Like, I don't think so. Not right off the bat. I think there's going to be a period of a couple of months where people are still theory crafting and trying new things and really feeling out this book to playtest all these new ideas. But I definitely don't think Space Marine mono book or like mono lists, like mono chapter lists, I guess we could call it, are going to be OP.
Well, I mean, OP, everybody always like Snap says OP, right? But look at it this way, like Marines haven't been anywhere. Like you said, like this is either they're getting them to par with some of the other stuff out there, or they're going to make them a little bit better just so, they have some leg room for this whole Psychic Awakening thing. So I think it's a good thing. And I don't feel like any of these fans of these chapters have ever had such engrossing and rich rules for the rule set. And it's great to see. So I'm all for it. I mean, you could say OP, you can say, hey, they got new rules in there. They're on par with.
There ain't nothing wrong with being OP. First off, I don't use that term in a negative connotation. I think all forward progress in any game system should be toward the OP. Make everything OP. Don't nerf things.
Well, eventually there's going to be regression. So
right.
You kind of have
and then that's when you reset, right? So OP, here's my 2 reasons why I predict it's going to be OP. For chapter proof and the big FAQ of 2019. Space Marines will vastly be unaffected by both, where the rest of the field will be affected by both. So I don't know what's in those 2 articles. I don't know exactly what's all going to be affected, but Space Marines will not be, I believe, not in any real way. So I think that the field, as it stands, I agree. I think I haven't seen all the rules. I don't know how good Iron Hands just are just yet. Imperial Fist, I don't know yet. I know that my man Reese over at Frontline Gaming on Signals Frontline is very concerned that they're going to be OP, and he's seen more than I have. But what's going to happen when, Flyers go 0-3, period? What's going to happen when some of our favorite toys get point adjustments going further? None of that affecting Space Marines going forward. Some of these gatekeeper lists, some of these lists that you always have to be able to beat to win a tournament might just vanish. And when they vanish, other lists become viable again. And now, so we'll see what happens. But I can't predict it entirely. We're going to use the Leviathan as an example and as a example of OP. But then we're going to straighten it out with an example of a good positive forward change. So why outline the Leviathan? First off, it's basically remained unchanged since it was talked about 2 years ago in a chapter proof. It has been a very staple of your Ultramarine army, right?
Yeah. So we've often described the Leviathan Dreadnought in the context of Ultramarines as the MasterCard of Space Marines, where don't leave home without it, right? So it's a toughness 8, 14 wound Dreadnought that moves 8 inches with a 2-up armor save, a 2-up weapon skill, 2-up ballistic skill, a 4-up invul save, and the optimal loadout is the Storm Cannon Arrays, which is a 10-shot autocannon.
20 shots total.
Yeah, 20 shots total. Strength 7, -2 for 2. That is limited by its range of 24 inches.
But that's currently now usually -3 because of the new doctrine.
Yeah, because the Devastator Doctrine, it is -3 in the first turn. And then with the Ultramarines, in the Tactical Doctrine, our wording is you count as not having moved. So while that doesn't really interact with the Leviathan too much, he doesn't take the negative to moving and firing heavy weapons. And now with the Iron Hands in the Devastator Doctrine, they won't have that penalty either. So he's keeping his 2-up ballistic skill waddling around the board with his Storm Cannon Arrays, just gatting shit.
Yeah, and reroll it. So 2-up rerollable innately. So I want to go back. I want to ask you a question. And we talked about this on our tactics, on the tactics discussion we had earlier today. And you answered it very honestly. I was like, how many times did your Leviathan die? Because you were rocking that Ultramarine style, and it was and Ultramarines were one of the only playable builds before this, and Leviathan was a big part of it, making it -1 to hit from Tiggy and toughness 9 from Mighty Heroes. How often did that guy die before?
Maybe 1 in 10 games.
1 in 10 games, and you even told me that a lot of times when the opponent thought he was going to kill it and focus down on it for 2 turns were the easiest games you had.
Yeah. With the list that I've been running that has 5 Dreadnought chassis, it's really hard to make a choice about what to shoot at. And a lot of times people that are inexperienced playing against newer units like the Redemptor Dreadnought shot the Redemptor instead of the Leviathan or my Laskin and Contemptor Dreadnoughts because it's way fucking bigger than the Leviathan. Comparably, the Leviathan is this small little Dreadnought dude, and these Redemptors are his giant big brother that look way scarier. So they fill the role of a sort of bait and switch distraction card effects.
Right, but like, let's talk about somebody who knows what the models do.
Yeah, so
you lose the Leviathan 1 in 10 times, and when people start trying to shoot it to death, oftentimes you just table them because it doesn't die. The point is it doesn't die. It didn't die before these rules very often. I've played against it a million times. So OP, Forge World. Forge World is not fucking OP.
Mm-mm.
Only time a Forge World unit needs to get adjusted is when the core rules change, the keywords update, and a rule or a set of abilities or a framework that makes a model decent has an unforeseen consequence like it's having right now. The Leviathan was the anchor of a good Space Marine Ultramarine force. They weren't winning these tournaments, but some really good players were top 80, like our friend Alan Marshall.
Yep.
Now, with the addition of all these the chapter tactics, the new doctrines, Leviathan got real good just from the simple fact that now it's a flat 2, strength 7, straight up neg 3 AP weapon. That got good. Iron Hands changed the game even further. Built-in reroll, lack of a modifier when moving, a psychic power that adds +1 to hit.
Their chapter tactic gives them feel no pain and a 5-up Overwatch.
Yes. So now he can Overwatch on a 5. He has a 6-up feel no pain, which means he saves 2 to 3 of his failed saves through the course of a game. So he has 3 extra wounds that other Leviathans don't have.
Mm-hmm.
He with very simple combos, my man can hit -3 targets on a 3, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s with basic combos. He is better. This is where I'm going to drive it home. The conclusion. Compare him to a brand new Chaos Knight with 2 Avenger Gatling cannons, Rob. That man has 24 shots. My Knight has 24 shots, strength 6, neg 2, 2 damage. Okay. 36-inch range, a longer range, but I have a weaker gun with 4 more shots. He has a strength 7, 2, 2. Psych, it's 3 because the new doctrines. Okay.
Right.
So you're even better than I thought you were. So when I use a 2-point CP to reroll miss hits, and I put 12 shots here and 12 shots there, shooting 2 different Eldar flyers, and I have this brand new hot off the press relic that makes me ignore the negative hit modifier. So I hit on 3s with full rerolls. My 500-point model is less likely to kill those 2 Eldar flyers than the Leviathan is. So offensively in almost every situation, but like 1, shooting toughness 3 models with no save. And even then, you guy probably has more rerolls than I do. So you're probably still killing more guys. So in every conceivable form of offense, the Leviathan does more offense than a 500-point double Gatling Knight. And in every conceivable form of defense, it's harder to kill deceptively because it doesn't look like it because I have 24 wounds, it has 14 wounds. But when you factor in the fact that it's a 2-up save and I have a 3-up save, it has a 4-up invulnerable, and if I have to spend CP to have a 4-up rotate Iron Shield, it gets cover. I don't. So a lot of times the Leviathan Dreadnought played by someone like Wyatt is going to have a 1+ cover, a 1+ save.
Seems good.
And potentially
start stacking stuff like Might of Heroes makes it toughness 9. And then if you're playing Ultramarines, Tigurius, Master of Prescience can give it -1 to hit. We have things like Defensive Focus, where I can select 3 other Ultramarines units within 6 inches of the Leviathan to also overwatch you.
The problem is that this is a great little Forge World unit that, because of keywords and recent updates, has a lot of things that they didn't think about. First off, it should have never had a 2-up and a toughness 8. It was always harder to kill than a Knight. Like the second you got it in cover. It was always that bad. Now that it has more offense, more defense, and it's 150 to 180 points cheaper than a Knight, that's OP. And this is OP that will get fixed. Like we're gonna have another wave of fixes. That's not this chapter preview, guys. That's what I'm saying. So my fear is none of this stuff's gonna get talked about until sometime next year. They're gonna run the scene, but ultimately I like it when a bunch of new OP shit runs the scene because we do our best work, come up with the sickest new tech. Every time this has happened, the new freshest combos were discovered. Yep. And even in the second year, third year, fourth year of a game system, new shit will be discovered. So this is a good shakeup. I'm excited for it. And it's not all fire and brimstone. This is a really OP model. You're going to go up against tons of Iron Hands players with two Leviathans on the table.
Oh, Iron Hands players are coming out of the woodwork.
It's going to be
it's
a problem.
so easy to make plug and play lists with Iron Hands because of the fact that you don't need to rely on things like captains and chapter masters. That we built a list during tactics class earlier that had 2 Leviathans and 2 Repulsor Executioners in it.
It was so dumb.
With a double battalion for all of the CP.
There's already people taking that now. There was a top 3 list.
Yeah, and it just got better. So all of that, fire and brimstone, be worried. But also at the end of the day, remember, it's a game and it's good to get shucking up a little bit, figure out how to fix things, how to play against things. And also there's always this old adage, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm going to build a fucking Space Marine army. You don't get it twisted.
Yes.
But let's talk about
it protects.
Let's talk about the positive. So all of these buffs that just went down, fucking old ass Forge World model that got really good. You know, what about awesome models in the lineup that have been there for years that are now playable? Give me one right now. Give me one right now. Storm Talon.
Relic Whirlwind Scorpius.
That's an old Forge World busted model. I just said, forget Forge World models. I said,
what? Come on, man. All right. Thunderfire Cannon.
Yes.
There you go. Thunderfire Cannon. How many times did Alan say, fuck a Thunderfire Cannon? He was one of the number 1 Space Marine players in the country. Now he's like, no. They're back in my list 100% all day, every day.
I'm on the train now. Like before we got our codex, I was like, man, I don't know. But now I'm all about it.
But let's talk about Storm Talons. Storm Talon is a cool ass flyer we got. It's awesome looking. And it sucks dick.
Yeah. It's a flyer that takes a negative penalty for just moving to its heavy weapons.
Like literally. And then they're like, well, we'll give you +1 to shoot ground targets. So I'm like, okay.
Back to a 3.
Okay. All right. So Storm Talon has 2 assault cannons, 2 heavy bolters.
Yes.
It has a bunch of shots. And last time I checked, it's Iron Hands. So it rerolls the 1s to hit innately on those heavy weapons, Rob, and it's -1 AP. So all those shots have more damage output and built-in rerolls than ever before. The Storm Talon also has a 6-up Fatal Pain. That is an incredible gun platform.
You can cast on it to give it to +1 to hit if you want.
Me and Wyatt worked on a 6-flyer Iron Hands list.
Yeah. Going to be out flying the Eldar.
Dude, 3 Storm Talons and 3, what are they called? Eagles?
That's just
Stormhawks.
Stormhawks. But that's just a good example of what you were just talking about. Like you literally come up with something to fight something. And then if it goes to a 3 flyer limit, those Eldar ain't going to be an issue anymore. Yep. And boom, you go to something else.
And what I learned about this list was,
people who are good at math, what's like 159 times 3 that we just filled up? We can fill up with other cool shit now.
Yeah. It's like 450-ish.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a repulsor executioner right there.
But because of this new set of abilities, I learned that I like 3 Storm Talons in my Iron Hands list, regardless of how it plays out. That is really fast recon, secondary scoring, ground target eliminating hail of bullets that can go off into the backfield unsupported, and then hover, because they have that ability, Rob, and then sit on top of a building and shoot characters from behind. It is a great unit. That's a unit that suddenly matters. And that is the reason why you have to push forward in the game system, give us new abilities, don't make us pay for them, let us discover new combos, and the meta will work itself out.
I'm going to eBay right now to buy some Storm Talons.
Hell yeah. As you
yeah.
Well, like
we were talking earlier about things like orcs and GSC, and like they're really hard to deal with right now. You know what orcs and GSC hate? 12 assault cannons and 6 heavy bolters. For
21.
Is it 6 shots per assault cannon? Is that right?
So twin assault cannon is 12 shots. And so in this list,
it's 108 shots. Our 6 flyers have 108 quality shots. Some percentage of them hitting on 2s. They all reroll 1s.
Yeah. And they're all wounding on 2s and 3s with -1 AP.
-2 AP.
Yeah. Oh no, they're 0 to start.
Assault cannons are 0 to start?
Oh, they're -1. Okay.
Yeah, there's
I'm
a
still thinking of old assault
cannons. This shit is ridiculous.
-2.
This shit is good. So that's real talk. Okay. So that we definitely covered a lot. We still have this interview, so I'm gonna kick it back to Rob. Anything we need to talk about before we bring Professor Siegler on?
Just do the outro, I guess. Did I miss something? I think that's it.
You're our adult.
Oh my. No, that's it.
Okay. I feel like Rob wants to talk about the Scorpius pattern Whirlwind.
Nope.
Was it like 93 shots?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
It's also like over 200 points, which is the downside.
It's an amazing unit. Yes. Me and Wyatt were all over that thing for a solid 3 days. We love that thing. So we're going to hear from Richard Siegler, the current reigning champion of Nova Open Championships this year. He's going to drive it home, put an exclamation point on this conversation we just had. So stay tuned. Joined tonight by Richard Siegler, the world's greatest Tau player and second best 40K player globally, according to the ITC rankings. How's it going, brother?
It's going great, Kenny. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very professional, almost like you're a professor. So here's the situation. You guys may have heard him on some podcasts. He was on a podcast tour. This is the man who won Nova Open. We briefly touched on his list last week. We didn't go into serious detail because I think the internet understands now based on the tour. I heard you were on Best in Faction podcast actually recently. They're great guys. Tell me about that experience and maybe shed some light on some of the intricacies of your list, but keep it short because I don't want to bore anybody who listens to that podcast as well.
All right, absolutely. So I had the distinct pleasure of being on the Best in Faction podcast, which is run by Colin Sherman and Mitch Pelham. And they do an excellent job talking about the 40K meta overall. And then they delve into, the specifics of how competitive players approach particular tournament games. And so I got to talk about my games at Nova. So if you're interested in that, please check them out. In terms of my list, it's very much designed around the durability of Tau. And so I take 43 drones, I take triple Riptide, and then behind that is one of the keys to the list, which is triple Commander, all with cyclic ion blasters. So no Shadow Sun. Really, it's just, it survives for 4, 5, 6 turns. And if those units are shooting for those turns, very likely I have controlled most of the game and tabled most of the opponent's army. So it's deceptively powerful.
I mean, you did it 9 times in a row at Nova, which is an achievement. Which is interesting because I want to bring this point up. I've seen your style list being played. It's currently the more popular style of Tau, with a couple differences here and there, like you already mentioned. I saw it at ATC a lot earlier this year. A lot of people were slotting that Tau in, and a lot of people, though, were viewing it as a skew list. They weren't looking at it as an all-comers list. And I interviewed many teams that weekend when we were broadcasting, and I never caught one guy talking about how he just feels good in every fucking matchup with this Tau list. So that's how I went into looking at these Tau armies. And then you come out, crush it out at a singles event. I mean, so everyone just has it wrong. That list is clearly tough and can deal with anybody in any situation.
For me, the one difficult matchup is the Chaos matchup, particularly if they have the Epitome and a ton of Plague Bearers. And so fortunately at ATC, I just was never paired into Chaos. But the list can still win that matchup. It's just, it's unfavorable.
What specifically about, obviously, those are tough units, but what exactly, how does it have an answer for you, though?
So the big thing is that it's going to take me at least 2 turns, often, anywhere up to 4 turns to kill all the Plague Bearers, simply because if you're stacking the minuses to hit on them, and even with 5 marker lights to cancel out one of those, it just takes a really long time to get rid of the Plague Bearers. And so you might only have turns 4 or 5 to take care of most of the characters. And in that time, the Chaos player has likely racked up kill more and hold more on you. And so it's kind of a rush to get as many points as you can those last 2 turns when you've cleared most of their army.
You got to do anytime your game plan is to win the game in the last 2 turns, it's dicey, can go either way.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So, but at the end of the day, you pulled it out. So right now on the ITC rankings, only Jim Vessel, who happens to play that style list, is on top of you. We call it even the Jim Vessel list at this point in the community, or the TJ Lanigan special, who's below you now. He was in the top position for a while. Still, there's a lot of guys rocking that list in the top position. So really what I wanted to ask you here tonight, Richard, was to talk about two things. How are you going to win the ITC championship and be crowned the 2019 overall champ? How are you going to blaze through? How are you going to get through Jim's score? What are you going to do? And then secondly, which we'll touch on afterwards, how is the new Space Marines a hurdle that you can get through? Or is it just like, that's it, they're the best army in 40K?
All right. So for the ITC overall, in the last year, this is the very first time I've been playing competitive 40K. And so I'm still relatively new to the game. Coming into this season, I did not expect to be in the top 10 for most of the season. My goal coming in was to compete for number 1 Tau player and then hopefully be in the top 50 of the competitive ITC. But I've exceeded all those expectations. And so now that I have a real chance to shoot for number 1, I'm going to go for it. I have about 4 majors coming up that I could potentially boost my score even further. And then ultimately it's going to come down to our performances at LVO. Jim's a very good friend of mine. And so I'm just happy that, I'm kind of in the throne room. I'm right below the number 1 right now. So I'm just happy to be there.
I mean, that obviously, who wouldn't be, right? So you have obviously put some thought into it. You got to go to these events. That's ultimately what it comes down to, is you got to hit events. You got to
with the new scoring. It's really about super majors. Can you get, top 16, top 8 or better at these super majors? And if you can, you're going to be up there in the top 25 of the ITC. It's been evolving since they started this whole tracker, and people were able to game it by just going to RTs, right? And now they've changed that. And now now you got to go to events that have more than 5 rounds, and you can have this many of this type of score, that many of this type of score. So they've really been dialing it in. We have a pro tour, a fully actualized pro tour in our hobby now. And it's super exciting. So I would obviously, for me, the dream match would be you're at LVO, Jim's at LVO, and you guys have to play in the finals at some point. That would, to me, be the ultimate. I have played Jim twice before, both at BAO, and he took both of those games, so I am looking for a little bit of revenge. Yeah, you need to win that rubber band match. And simultaneously, this episode of the podcast, I'm sure the FAQ Bowl predictions is a thing. And in case you guys didn't realize, we're recording this interview before the podcast, so I don't know what we've talked about on the podcast today. But bold FAQ predictions, I think that the Jim Vessel style of play, that way of life, might be in jeopardy. Plague Bears might be getting a point nerf. They might be getting a squad size nerf. They might even be losing their minuses to be hit. What do you think about that? And if some of that comes to fruition, how do you feel about your chances? I think for sure Plague Bears are going to get hit in some way. I think the most likely is, like you mentioned, that they're going to lose the -1 to hit after they go below 20 models, which I think is perfectly reasonable. If they don't do that change, maybe they'll get a points increase or they'll mess around with the squad size. But if Plague Bearers are hit, Tau has a much, much stronger matchup against Chaos, because really it's those stacking minuses that are to deal with. Minuses suck, right? But being able to get that -2 is just the real suck. And then simultaneously, a lot of people don't realize, like, Tau is not that happy about minuses. They don't have the same type of tools a lot of other armies do for getting around that stuff. They have, like, obviously markers, but they don't all start at the same ballista scale that a lot of other people are used to. You have to expend, lots of resources to make it happen. And you have while having really quality shots and volumes of fire, Plague Bears still had that sweet 5 up, 5 up. And so it is tough, right? Like, not very many lists can stop all those Plague Bears in less than 4 turns. It's one of the many reasons why I take those 4 ballistic skill 2 marker lights, so that even with those guys and then the stratagem to add D3 marker lights, I can always get 5 on a Plague Bearer unit. Yep, that is one of the sickest techs of all time. I love it. I love your Supreme Command attachment. I love everything about your Tau army.
It makes me happy. So you didn't have to play New Marines to win Nova Open.
Nope.
Do you think that this is something that even concerns you, or is it, because to me, it is concerning as a Chaos player who is currently in love with a couple of Chaos Knights and a couple of Lord Discordants. I'm really having fun with that. And I'm looking at these new Space Marines. I'm like, oh my God, get the fuck out of here.
They are absolutely concerning to me, and they should be concerning to everybody. Space Marines are about to become the meta. In particular for Tau, White Scars are incredible. By and large, the key things that they have are the psychic power to have a unit ignore Overwatch, and then the Warlord trait that if that model is within an inch of,
Talking about the Tangle Snare?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. If you tag a bunch of Riptides up on a 4-up, they can't fall back. And that's basically game, for the Tau player.
It's GG. I talked about that list with my buddies. I was like, if you get over there, you don't get overwatched. You charge. You stop even one thing from falling back, and you're a White Scar who can fall back and still charge. You can do that every fucking turn for the rest of the game is over.
Yep. And there's really a small chance that Tau's actually going to kill that character in combat. Yeah. So it's really over.
Not many things have changed for Tau in all the years of the game.
On the other hand, Iron Hands are also incredible. We just got the preview today of some extra things they're getting. The ability to have damage, the trait to give the extra -1 damage in an aura around a bunch of vehicles. Mm. That is not what Tau wants to see.
Tau is not about that life, sir.
It's most of my army's damage 2 or D3. At most, I'm going to be now doing 1 damage per wound that goes through or unfailed save, and that is just not going to do it against Leviathans or
Leviathans are just impossible to kill right now because of some of these rules. When I see Leviathan, I'm just like, it doesn't exist to me. I'm not going to put a bullet at it because it will never die. So I just can't. There's just too much. It's one of the most ridiculous tanks. On a side topic, for its points, people get super mad about Knights and shit. I was like, you realize this thing is harder to kill than a Knight, right?
It's insanely hard to kill, and it has a tremendous amount of firepower on top of that.
Yeah.
So if you are not playing Tau aggressively and have the ability to tag things with Riptides or Shield Drones or Pathfinder units, you are going to really struggle in this new Space Marine meta, I think.
Yeah, it is scary. I got to play against Imperial Fist at a practice tournament last week, and I was lucky to have gone first. He had that Centaurian unit. I was lucky to get some shots on it, make this ridiculous Lord Discordant. I have 3 Lord Ds. One of them rolled a 6, and I was able to warp time him and get him across the table and handle business. But he had a Leviathan, a fucking Derudito, a fucking Redemptor, and I was just like, God damn it, these things will not die. Literally, it's like he's like, I got the stratagem to have all damage. What's up? I was like, okay, got it. Don't ever engage that unit. What a waste of minutes of my life. And they don't even have their codex yet. And I'm hearing from the grapevine that Imperial Fists are going to be real strong too. Imperial
Fists, Salamanders, all of them are going to be incredible. I'm just hoping that the other codexes and supplements get the same treatment, especially Farsight Enclaves.
Yes. I think it does. We talk about the show all the time. We think that the Psychic Awakening is just kind of ushered in 8.5 edition. So I think it's going to happen. And of course, they're going to start the whole thing off with Space Marines to get that hype train going because they always do. And they, Chaos got to be better than Space Marines for a little while, and everything's right with the universe again. And it'll be right back to business as usual. Everyone will get fixed up. But I am glad to see, like I said, back to your Tau list, like Tau on top. Like it's been a while since they felt like they were on top. Obviously they were on top in 6th edition, little in 7th edition, not doing too bad that edition. And they kind of had a slow start, I feel like, to this edition.
I think by and large, the Tau Codex suffers from a lack of choices. Either you're going to take the suit version, which is going to rely on Riptides and drones, or you're going to rely on the tank version, which is, equally powerful, but it just doesn't have that same durability. it trades superior firepower for durability. So right now, those are the two kind of archetypes that Tau is dealing with. But I think if we start getting, new mercenaries or buffs to some of the less used units, Tau is going to be in a really, really good place when their second codex comes out.
Yeah, and obviously Savior Protocols has been, ever since the index has been their thing. So, and I remember just looking at that rule as soon as the index dropped, and I was like, God, this is going to be annoying.
It's the crutch for the entire race.
They need it. It's a mono faction. If they didn't, it's like this. I talked about it last week about the list. It's like, look, if you play against a really solid Tau player who knows how to use the drones and how to use, line of sight and terrain to their advantage, the drones can feel OP, but they are not on paper innately OP, because anything you do to try to fix them makes Tau unplayable. Like, you're like, well, maybe they should only be able to do it with one unit of drones. And I'm like, then they just table the tower. He has no defense. Like, it's just, these are not solves. Like, and don't put the cart in front of the horse. Like, he won Nova 9 rounds. It's like, if you go online, it's like Chaos won this one, Chaos won that one. Oh, look, another Chaos victory. Oh, look, this Orc guy won. Oh, another Chaos victory. So like, Tau didn't just sweep the nation by storm this weekend. Like,
why I don't think they'll be hit in the FAQ is because now it's not like the Castellan where it was dominating for months and they finally said, okay, enough is enough. We're going to nerf the Castellan. Tau has been, had strong performances, but hasn't really kind of, it's not at every top table. It's kind of hit or miss.
That's absolutely true. And I think that's a fact. And I think wise words were stated here, right? Like, Space Marines are concerning. Just to summarize, you should be concerned too. I've heard other people like Reese on his podcast talk about how he is concerned that they're going to be too OP. So keep it on, Space Marines, or, jump on that bandwagon on board while the getting's good. Like, I've got a little Salamanders brigade I'm working on right now, cause I love Salamanders and they remind me of 5th edition and I want to do that. And these new rules make me want to. So there is some good there. But if they become the meta, to quote you again, if that is the meta, Space Marines become it, it could lead to an interesting, rough period. But on the side note, every time something weird happens, or on the flip side, every time something weird happens, like everyone has a Castellan and 2 Smash captains and a bunch of IG dudes, we all come up with new strategies and ways to beat things we never thought of. So at the end of the day, I feel like we always figure it out. And then GW gives us an FAQ at the last second and it's all good. So either way, I'm excited, and I'm excited to see how you smash it out with Tau at LVO. I'm going to be stoked. Am I going to see you at any other, list of some of the big events that anybody can come by and see the list and say hi to you are going to be for the rest of the year?
So the first one coming up is going to be the Crucible Major in Orlando next month, followed by Warzone Atlanta, the Coastal Assault in the Panhandle. I'm hoping to be at SoCal in San Diego. And then, of course, we have LVO at the very end of the season.
In like January. So I'll be at SoCal and Warzone Atlanta. So hopefully I see you at those 2 events. Let's shout out some people, man. Florida Man Podcast.
Absolutely. So I'm a part of Team Brohammer, and our team has its own podcast called Florida Man 40K. So if you're interested in the South's meta, the meta overall and list analysis, check these guys out. We've got some really great players here. John Lennon, Dan Smith. Feel free to check us out.
Yeah, that East Coast meta is different. You get that Southeast flavor. That's what I love about the game right now is like people come all the way out here and play, and they're like, yo, that West Coast style is so different. And then we go all the way out to your side and we're like, these dudes are doing it different too. So that's what I love about playing in major events in Warhammer 40K, at least in this era right now, is it's never been more eclectic. It's even though, we see a lot of chaos victories. When I go to events, I see so many different armies now, and it was not like that in the last 2 editions.
It's fantastic. I love seeing all the different armies. It's not all, Imperium soup anymore or, Eldar flyers. You're seeing a ton of armies, even at the top tables. Yeah. If you look at the 16 of Nova, it was very diverse.
Yeah, I heard there wasn't even a lot of chaos at the top over there. That's
just one chaos player.
Yeah, and I mean that just shows you regional differences in the styles. I mean, and mission structure over there is different. Like, it was amazing. So you heard the man right here, Richard, Florida man, podcast Professor Siegler is what I'm going to call you from now on. Thank you for joining me tonight and being a part of this podcast. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully in just about, I don't know, like a month and a half to see you in SoCal Open.
Perfect. Thanks again for having me, Kenny. It's been a pleasure.
So that's it for this one. Make sure to head over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.